Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Historic Holiday Baking with the Prince Albert Historical Society. My name is Joanna, and today I'll be showing you how to make Gingersnap cookies using a recipe from 1942. I've got my ingredients all kind of prepped here, just to make it easier for myself. So what you want to do first is cream together your sugar and your shortening. So last time you saw I used the hand mixer. Today I'm doing it the old-fashioned way with my spatula. In our sugar cookies, we used a vegetable-based shortening, but today we decided we're going to try using the Tenderflake, the animal-based shortening. So now we've got our sugar and our shortening pretty well creamed together. Then we have an equal amount of molasses and hot coffee. And so I don't know, I've never made gingerbread cookies with coffee, but we're gonna see how it is. And lucky for us, there's usually a pot of coffee on at the Historical Museum, so we've got lots. So you're gonna add that to your sugar and your shortening. So we've mixed our hot coffee and molasses in with the shortening and sugar mixture. So the reason you want the coffee to be hot is because it helps to melt the shortening. Now your shortening will never fully melt, so it still looks a little grainy in there, but that should be okay. So to this, we're going to add our dry ingredients, basically flour, baking soda, salt, and a mix of spices. The spice mix includes cinnamon, dried ginger, and dried ground cloves, and I can really smell the cloves, it's nice. So we've gotten all of our ingredients mixed together, and the dough came together quite nicely. The recipe says this is going to be a soft dough, and it definitely is, probably because of the hot coffee. So I'm going to put it in the fridge and let it chill for a little bit. Okay, so we've let our dough chill. Similar to the old-fashioned sugar cookie recipe, the recipe says to chill your dough, but not for how long. We chilled ours for 2 hours, and now it's nice and firmed up. One thing that's interesting about this recipe is it calls for us to roll out the dough rather than just make little balls, which is how I know how to make ginger snaps. So we didn't learn our lesson and get a rolling pin, so we're using our same old jar. And so we're gonna roll it out to 1/8 of an inch thickness. Now, it doesn't say whether to do it on a floured countertop or on a cloth like the sugar cookies. So we decided we were just gonna put a bit of parchment paper down just to make sure it doesn't stick to our counter. Okay, so now that we've got our dough rolled out to around 1/8 of an inch, we're going to cut it out. You can use a festive shaped cookie cutter or just a round cookie cutter. Now, I'm not sure, the recipe doesn't specify to roll these in sugar and put sugar on top, which is how I usually enjoy my gingerbread cookies. For the first batch, we're gonna try them plain, but I have a feeling we might be adding some sugar afterwards just to sweeten them up a little bit. All right, so you want to bake these in a 350-degree oven or a moderate oven if you're going off of the old wood stove temperatures. Similar to the old-fashioned sugar cookie recipe, there's no time for baking, but since they're pretty thin, I think we'll put them in for around 5 minutes to start, and I'll update the recipe to let you know how the timing worked out for us. All right, so we've got our first 4 cookies ready to go. I'm gonna stick them in the oven. So our cookies have been in the oven for around 8 minutes now, and I think they're done, so I'm gonna take them out and check. They look pretty good. I think they're done. So we'll let them cool off a bit and then give them a taste test. So while our first batch of cookies cools off, we're gonna talk about the second batch. Now we got a little bit lazy with rolling them out and thought about how we know how to make ginger snaps. And so we decided rather than rolling them and cutting them out, we would make little balls, squish them down, and roll them in sugar. So our cookies have cooled off enough to give them a try. I think it's kind of interesting. It looks more like a gingerbread than what I would think of as a ginger snap, but but we're gonna see how it is. Definitely a ginger cookie. It's very tasty. I'm looking forward to trying the ones rolled in sugar because it's not too sweet, and I feel like I'd like it just a little bit sweeter, but we'll see how those ones turn out. I'll check in with those as well. So we finished baking our ginger snaps, and I just want to show you for comparison. This is following the recipe, rolling them out and cutting them out. And these are the ones we made, rolling them into little balls and dusting them in sugar before we baked them. These ones we baked for a little bit longer. Of course, you can see it's a bit thicker. So we baked these ones for around 12 minutes, and we found that was good. Depending on how you prefer your ginger snap, you know, either of these could be doable. I will share the recipe and instructions for both in the comments, so please let us know if you decide to bake these and how they work out for you. Happy holidays and happy baking!